New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello. Thank you for joining us here on Rockin the Love. I am Robyn.
And I am Gil. And as she just said, this is Rockin the Love. It's another Wednesday. Good morning.
It's another Wednesday, and we're in separate boxes again.
Yes, we are. And our background, you would think from the background we're in the same place, but we're not. Actually, two separate studios, two different places.
Two separate studios, both a mess. Both a blur. Yes. Hello, Shay. Thank you for joining us. We are separate again. Gil left last night to go back to New Mexico, and I am here in Oakland. So as some of you know that have joined us previously, we are a married couple, and we live in two different states right now.
I currently live in the state of confusion. Where do you live?
I was ready to say we join each other in a state of confusion. I am in Oakland, California.
And I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's lovely weather today, beautiful outside.
So. Here too. Except the weirdest thing happened today.
Yeah.
We got an earthquake warning.
Wow.
And it did the beeping thing on your phone, like when you're having an air raid kind of thing. And it told everybody to like duck and cover if there's an earthquake, and we're expecting a 4.6 earthquake or something.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And it's the first time they've ever sent out.
Did they say how long they were, like what the time frame was they were expecting it?
I didn't look at it.
Okay.
I didn't look at it. My sister screamed down from upstairs, there's an earthquake warning. I glanced at it and I was like, I don't have time. So
if I stay out of the garage, nothing will fall on me. I'm good.
That's the way I roll. It's done unto me as I believe. So there you have it. I don't have time. So welcome. We are happy to be here with you today. We have been together for the past 3 weeks, and that was super fun to be together. Not necessarily under the pretenses of cleaning out our garage, but there it was, seizing the opportunity. So we've been busy trying to get things together for a big move from Northern California to Southern California, and
moving the rest of the stuff that needs to come to New Mexico. So it's
there's stuff moving.
Yeah, there's stuff moving. A lot of stuff on the lawn moving. Yes. So
It's true. So that is how the topic of release came about. Because we're doing a lot of releasing.
So what's the topic today?
The real in release.
Okay. Woo. Real in release.
Yeah, and I think, what does that mean to you?
Well, there are a lot of. I just read something. It was like, if you're going to let go of things, breathe and then just let it go, and then think about something else. And Like there's all these things that sound kind of whatever, but the truth is, in order to really release, we have to get into the real aspect of it and really let it go, really move into it, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Because there's so many things that we sort of, you know, oh yeah, I stopped and I looked to my left and and then I let it go. Well, maybe.
Well, I think what you're talking about though is like there's a realness to what to letting go of something. And you know, we do it a lot of times under seeming duress. Like I know when I was in the garage with you and my family that when they would bring me a piece of paper that I knew thought was ridiculous or insignificant, that I I felt like it was like peer pressure. It's like, oh, okay, all right, I'll let it go. And then it's like, have I really let it go? Do I think about it later on and go, oh, I really wish I had that item or that thing or what that thing meant to me. So it's interesting, but let's talk about it later because I think it's going to inform our whole show. So that's just a peek into our week,
All right.
right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. When we hit on the reel and release, I was like, yeah. How do I really do that? How do I be real in the area of release? So that's what we'll talk about. That will be fun. What do we got now? Before we talk, are we going to talk about anything else before that today? We got some good news happening.
Good news. Okay, sorry, marital moment. Yeah, so it is time for the good news, and but today I don't want to just do the good news because we're living in a world where there really is a lot of things going on that are taking the forefront in the news, and I don't want you all to think because we like to focus on the good news that we're not acknowledging what's happening. So I want to take a moment and just send special prayers, blessings, love, whatever it is you do, hum along and just send some prayers out into the world for everything that's going on in you know, no matter where you stand on any situation, just the fact that anyone in the world is in pain. Let's just send some love out there.
Yeah,
And some prayers of peace.
yeah, I don't think there's any way for us to be real in that situation other than to hold everyone involved and to look beyond the appearance of the evil, if you will, that happens, that people perpetrate on one another. And so we're just loving and standing knowing that there's something bigger and something more inclusive happening in Ukraine and in Israel and Gaza and, you know, with people perpetrating acts of violence on small children. We just know that there's something more, and we find a way to go beyond finding a right and wrong and this side is good and this side is bad. So
And I just want to add to that, not only those places, but all the places we don't hear about, and all
yes,
the places that aren't mentioned, and all the places where you know there are people and children not eating and not taken care of in a way that every man, woman, child, she, they, them should be. And so I just want to acknowledge that we are not spiritually bypassing, and that we definitely stand for humanity and peace and love.
which is exactly why we try to celebrate some of the things that are more uplifting, because they are a picture they're a picture of how when we set when we are open to the larger thing, we are open to the love, what can happen?
It's true. So let's go to the good news, because we know that you'll be able to find lots of information on everything else. But what's the good news for you today, Mr. Olmsted?
Well, it isn't lost on me that there's a woman named Karen, a Swedish woman. And as all of us have been familiar with in recent days, the Karens of the world have gotten a pretty malign name. However, this woman is the first ever to receive a prosthetic that fuses bone with metal and electrodes. Now, the significance of that is that it actually connects a prosthetic arm and hand to her body, which she can control because it's connected through the nerves, and which the body, how do I say it? The body is embracing it, actually growing it into itself, so that the issues with pain and uncomfortability, et cetera, of this kind of thing begin to be dissolved in this process. And so it's taking a lot of different kinds of sciences and putting them together, from the very mechanical, et cetera, to electrical, to surgical, to all of it to make it happen. And I just thought it was pretty cool that, that's pretty amazing that we can do that as humans, that we can find that way. And while she's, the first one for this, what does that mean 20, 30 years down the road for people? And I'm trusting it means something pretty cool. So that's what's up.
That's amazing. I saw that story, and I saw that she had also not wanted to get a prosthetic arm for like number of years, like 20 years or 15 years.
Yeah. So this is,
and then it was a whole new lease on life for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, technology is amazing. All right. Well, speaking of amazing, I couldn't decide if I was going to speak of amazing or technology because I have two stories. But so I'm going to talk about amazing. The story today are that carrots are not the only good thing for your eyes, and that if you're older, you should eat grapes. So, in a small new study, they just found out that grapes are actually really good for your eyes, and for older adults especially, because it has a lot of older adults have degeneration in their eyes and from oxidative stress, and grapes are high in antioxidants. And so the research team discovered that after eating like 1.5 cups of grapes a day for 16 weeks, that it showed a significant increase in the molecular pigment optical density. And
that sounds really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, but so it ended high, like it's high levels of like key risk factors for eye disease, like stress and all of those things. And so it was a small study, and they're going to do more studies, but it makes sense.
Well,
it makes sense.
And it's one of those things that you go back and you go, so why is it that the royals are depicted with people feeding them grapes, and how many things do we intuitively know long before the study ever shows up? How many ideas are intuitively in place, and then we go, oh, that's why people used to eat a lot of grapes or whatever it is. I think it's
right. That intuitively we were just doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah. So the regular intake of grapes could improve eye health in older adults. So
nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's good to know these things as we move along in age.
And
who doesn't want to eat grapes?
Well,
and then with what you were saying too, I think about all those saying like, grapes to you and sour grapes and things like that. So maybe like grapes really did play a bigger part in everything.
And Shay is literally eating grapes right now. So see, there it is.
Wow.
Okay.
So keep eating them, Shay, if you have eye issues.
That's right.
And as we know, keep eating them and knowing that this study is absolutely perfect and that, things are changing. That's wild. That's great. Thanks, Shay, for being timely. All right. So that is our good news. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get into the reel of release. So when we come back, that's where we're going to start. So make sure you go and you get your grapes and come back and join us right here on New Thought Media Network.
Let's do something fun. Let's go on vacation. Let's take some time off just to do something fun with none of the usual to-do list that we have to deal with from day to day. And let's do it right now. And it'll only take a few seconds. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Take a break. Give yourself the gift of a moment. Allow yourself to stop doing and simply be. Because you are a bright light of love, and for you, being is more than enough.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, hello, hello. And we are back. I am Robyn.
And I am Gil. And you are with us on Rockin the Love. And it is Wednesday. What's the date today anyway? Do you know?
The 18th.
The 18th of October. Geez, I got lost somewhere in there. All right. So we're already more than halfway through October. What are you doing? Did you freeze? Okay. Well, so we are here today talking about the reel in release. Now, apparently in this moment, I am experiencing this in the moment because I'm having to release the whole concept that I was doing this show with Robyn. and there's no Robyn at the moment. She's completely out. So that changes things quite a bit, but I am going to stay with you all and see what we can do about it, because this is an opportunity to release what I thought was going to happen and move into something else. So who's thought about release? I mean, what does it mean when we really release something, when we let go? And I was checking this out, and one of the things that I found that was really fascinating is release is connected to the idea of catharsis. And I hadn't really thought about it this way. But often things occur where suddenly we have this release of emotions, where people kind of have this, what we think of as a breakdown of emotion. And we go, and we may cry, and we may curl up in a ball, and we may whatever, but that there's something about that moves a lot of stuff through us, moves it right out of our space, and we can really release it. We can let it go, because we hold so much inside so often. We take stuff and we hold it inside, and then it stops us or changes the possibilities of how we can move forward in our lives. Thank you, Shay, for chiming in. A huge part of release for me is forgiveness. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith helped me with this. Letting go of victim consciousness. Lots of crying. Yeah, lots of crying is not unusual at all. And forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness is our release of something we're holding on that we are blaming someone for, in my opinion. We are somehow blaming ourselves, we're blaming someone else. We are putting the reason for our discomfort onto ourselves or someone else. And to forgive that, to let that go, to release that, changes our ability in all ways. Well, this is Robyn calling me now. Let's see what she has to say. Hello, Robyn. How are you?
Hi, are you?
I'm doing a show right now. What are you doing?
I can't get on. It says my network cable is not connected.
Okay, her network cable is not connected, everyone, but she's connected to me on this phone. And we're talking about release. And I was just talking about the idea that we get to, in this moment, have an experience of release, because I was not planning to do this by myself.
Ask Robert if he can send me a code.
Okay, so perhaps Robert, our producer, can send a code or contact Robyn and see what they can figure out. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So everybody, so there you go. There's release. I have to let that go and let them do what they do, because this show, in fact, is what? Live. So what else around release? We have this forgiveness concept. We have this catharsis concept, which I thought was quite interesting. And another thing that I looked at was an article about addiction release. And this was a story about this thing that seems to happen occasionally with people, where they reach a point where all of a sudden everything changes for them. Everything in their life changes. Their desire to be involved with whatever the addiction is, whether it's drugs or something else, suddenly they have no taste for it, no desire for it. So they completely release this connection to it. And literally, it's as if they become this new person. And it's described by people who've been through it as if it's like just this spiritual 180 kind of thing. And just all of a sudden it's different. And who they relate to and the places they want to be and the things they want to do completely change. And so for any of us who have experienced addictive behaviors in ourselves, I know it's very, it can be very difficult to release that. And yet to get, to find a place where suddenly things move is miraculous. And it's even said that the founder of AA, Bill Wilson, I believe his last name was, actually had an experience like this after many times of starting and stopping, etc. And suddenly everything changed. And his whole 12-step program was an attempt to create for others a way to walk through in a process to get to that change that he had experienced. So real release is not something that happens in a moment. It's not something that happens. Well, let me rephrase that. That's not what I meant. It's not something that necessarily happens in a moment. It can happen in a moment, and it can happen in a process. And that's the difference. So Shay said, I had that experience of letting go of addictions, 180-degree spiritual turnaround. My personality is now in alignment with my spirit. Shay, thank you for sharing that. That's very, in my opinion, very courageous to put that out there. And yes, isn't that amazing how we can feel, and any of you who have struggled with anything that feels out of integrity in yourself, you feel like you're out of alignment with your own spiritual understanding, and there's not a way to get back, if you will, to equilibrium, to get back to that place that feels right, because you have two things happening. You have this part of you that feels very spiritually understanding and connected, and this part of you that feels like it's completely outside of that, and it pulls you off track, and it takes you down a road where you don't have time, and you don't have energy, and you don't have etc. to be connected more with your spiritual self, and therefore you're not able. Well, one is not able to give to the world in the same way. The gifts, I know in my experience, gifts begin to be held down, and because I'm holding them back because of how I feel about the process. Hello, do I know you?
Hi.
You're back. Robyn's back.
Apparently,
Yeah.
apparently you needed to release me.
Yes. No. Wait.
Okay, let's stay where you are.
Yes. So I'm gonna John, thanks for chiming in. The third step of AA is for everyone. I use it. Let go and let God. It's a prayer. It's a surrender. It's great in the moment. Let go of my smaller self and embrace my God self to embrace and guide. Thanks, John. Yes, that let go and let God. Many of us are familiar with music, which says the same, and the idea of that for me is that we're releasing, we're letting go of our own attempt to control and opening up to what's possible beyond that space that we're fully understanding, into that space of spirit taking over. So
I just want to say, along with that piece about song, because when I was doing research and I was thinking, it's like, I was like, everybody sings about letting go. Everybody, I mean, Ricky Byers is I Feel Like Letting Go. Beyonce was Before I Let Go. Rascal Flatts was I Won't Let Go. And then Ricky and Michael Beckwith came around to I Release and I Let Go. And people are always singing about letting go or not letting go, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Frozen, let it go, let it go. I mean, it's all about let the phone call go.
Let it go.
What an interesting day it is here. Anyway, so yeah.
So yeah, we were just, I don't know how much, were you able to hear us during the time?
No.
No. Okay. So we were discussing The concept of having that unexpected spiritual shift that some people experience when they have addiction processes, where they suddenly just lose all taste and desire for the addiction and totally shift their direction. And the fact that actually the founder of AA had an experience like this after many, many, many years, and developed the 12-step program to kind of emulate that, to create a process for other people to go through to get there. So that was kind of the basis of what we're talking about. And so there's this real release that happens, and it doesn't always happen due to our volition. It can happen because we allow it to happen. I think that may be the biggest thing, is what do we allow to happen? Do we allow ourselves to let go of things?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think, I don't know, for me, just in like when we thought of the topic of release, I was like, so what does that really mean? And then I started to notice how many things or how many ways we really use release. Like, what do we want to release? I mean, sometimes we want to release weight. Sometimes we want to release clothes that don't fit anymore or are out of style, or then we want to release thoughts and belief systems and stories and patterns and relationships that don't work, and things that don't bring you joy, or things that make you angry, or loved ones that make their transitions, or loved ones that you realize you can't be in a relationship with anymore, or or ideas, letting go of ideas of the way you think something should be. You know what I mean? I mean, there's such a there's a lot that goes with that word of release. It doesn't just mean one thing.
So what does release mean? Do you know?
So interesting that you asked that, because it's probably the first week I haven't looked it up in the dictionary, the topic.
Because I'll tell you what strikes me when I hear it is release. And of course, we've been in this process of leasing, with the move and all. And it's like, it's the opportunity to enter into a new lease. It's to release. So to re-enter into something that works for us, and by letting go. We release things, or we're letting go, but we're creating a new lease with them. The new lease says we don't have to hang on to them. They aren't part of our thing. Or we've now got a new lease with these other things.
So it's a new, like where a new lease on life comes from.
Right.
That's interesting, Gil. And John says, I'd like to release polyester.
Is that your pet bird? Who is that, John?
And Shay says, what Robyn just said, I've let go of all of that and more. I've had to basically start over, and it's a miracle. New lease on life.
Yes, new lease on life.
Yeah. So, okay. So how do we begin to do that? How do we begin to let go of what we don't want, or what doesn't serve us, or what stands in the way of what we want, or let go of, people in our life that we love?
I think for me, the getting real part is to acknowledge my fear and my concern about my own identity when I release. Because what holds me back, what makes me hang on, is somehow there's something there that I must have in order to be okay. Does that make sense? Whether it's a memory, a piece of clothing that reminds me of something, even though it's got giant stains all over it, or whether it's something else, I have to somehow go beyond the idea that without this thing or without this person in my life, I can't survive, because I'm going to be lacking somehow. And it's not always, that it's the quote positive thing. It's not that's the best thing to be connected to. It's just that I understand it and I know it. And if I let it go, I'm going to have to be something different. And that's where the real comes in.
Yes. And John says, release of my old beliefs allowed a beautiful life to gracefully and effortlessly appear in their place. I realized I was and can continue to be addicted to thoughts about myself and what I deserve.
Mm,
Oh, well said, John.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's, I'm sorry. So Shay says the ego does not want to do this releasing. I have to coax myself along, reassuring every part of myself that this is safe. Yes. And I think John's statement about, the thoughts about myself and what I deserve. So we get caught up. It's easy to be caught up in that belief that somehow we should have X, Y, or Z. Somehow it should be ours. And now we can look at a way to say but that we don't have it, rather than letting go of that idea, allowing whatever's new to come in.
yeah. I think what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that it all, in some ways, it all boils down to our idea of how it should be or what it should look like or what we think is the right way, right? And I think, to take it even a step further, I think one of the things that happens too is all of our thoughts and our shoulds have an emotional reaction to them. And the emotional reaction or the emotions get trapped in our body. And so it's like when you go to get a massage or you go to get body work, and like they push on those points that are like holding that tension. And the goal is to get that out, to release that. And your body worker will generally tell you, drink a lot of water because you're going to be releasing a lot of toxins. And all of those situations and all of those thoughts that we have we hold them in our body, and that develops an emotional vibration.
Yes. I keep looking at this, the real in release, and it's so, for me, it's so bringing up this idea that I can't just pander to the idea of release. I can't just give it lip service. I have to really look at the quote hard stuff, which is, what is holding me back? Why am I thinking that I can't let this go? Why am I so connected? Is that really true? Whatever that idea is behind that, is that really true?
Well, but to me, those are two different questions. Is that really true? Is not the same as why. And you and I.
No, my is that really true? Is the why really true? Yeah, that's what I meant.
Because for me, when you go to the why, or anyone goes to the why, it's a slippery slope, because why is subjective. For all situations, why is subjective. And your why may be different from my why. But but the important part, I think, is that we're constantly taking in information like this and asking these questions, and that's what generates this conscious or unconscious emotions and responses that we hold on to in our body. And that's why when you go to throw away my little piece of paper or whatever it is, I'm having my own thought. It's like, it's not just the, for me, this is just me, not everybody necessarily. It's not necessarily just my thought, but that's something in my body that is attached to that experience of whatever happened with that little piece of paper. And we had this conversation a little bit while we were going through our boxes and things. And I was saying to Gil that, for him and for my sister and, various people, it's easier for them to like throw something away or get rid of something. Whereas like I pick something up and I totally remember, I'm like, oh yeah, this was the day we were at the park with my mom and we went to blah, 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 blah. And it's a story and it's a whole like visceral memory, And so I think what I have to reconcile with in those moments are, yeah, it's a memory and it's good to have it. And, and I guess what I also said to Gil last night, just in conversation, was that some of those memories I would have never had again without seeing that stuff. And so where do our memories go? And that's where, for me, like the loss really comes up, because like I'm sitting here with this, can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know, this is the corsage dried from our son's wedding.
Mm.
Do I need to keep it? What am I going to do with it? Where am I going to put it? If I take a picture of it, will I ever look at it again? If I take a picture of it, will I know what it is? Because we don't write on the back of our pictures anymore. They're in our phone. And there's all those things. So it is a version of like loss, on some level, when I release.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of what I was going toward, was the idea of how do we trust, how do we move to that place where we can know that who we are and who we will be is not dependent on some of those outside things that we hang on to. I'm not saying anything in particular, but just some of that stuff that we just hang on to because we got to have it. Buddha said, why was the booby prize? Well, maybe that's why I like it so much.
And Shay said, there's so much grief involved. Again, lots of crying.
Yeah.
There is. There's a lot of letting go,
Back what John shared here, that released cigarettes over 20 years ago by blessing and releasing each cigarette I smoked. The second day I had 2, the third day none, and blessed them with love and released them, was instruction from Louise Hay. So another way of both acknowledging what's going on and blessing it and allowing it to be, and not and realizing that it is what it is and just let it be. It's what I heard in that.
Yeah. And I think it's super important that we go to how you release things. This was a quick hour, but maybe that's because I wasn't here for part of it.
It wasn't so quick for me.
No, because I feel like there's so much. I feel like we've just touched the surface.
We've just touched this, and we haven't even talked about our week, supposedly.
Well, we haven't talked about our human release. When we release people,
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother thing. So maybe we'll continue this conversation. And I know we have some guests coming this month that I'm sure could speak very eloquently on that. Reverend Sherry Greer will be here, and yeah, we'll have a little more conversation. But while we're here, I think when you get to a place where you want to release, I know there's so many different ways to do it, and there's the I can't think of her name now, Marie Kondo, the one, oh, so sorry to put this on tape for the rest of my life. The woman who releases, helps release stuff, uh, and look at it like, does it bring you joy? And you let it go. I think it's Mari something. Anyway, uh, KonMari. Yeah, KonMari method. Okay. Anyway, um, so focus on what you want to keep, and then let the rest of it go with gratitude. And I feel like so our week revolved around, we had a garage sale that was not really heartfelt. It wasn't like we were those big garage sellers that post for the week and put signs all over and all of that stuff, but we did our best. We had a garage sale, and then we have things on our front lawn now for free that I feel like we're letting go with gratitude, just blessing them and letting them go. Um,
And knowing that somehow the place they need to be will reveal itself. And somebody will have joy from having them for free.
oh yeah, people are thrilled with coming to pick up a microwave or a ladder or things like that, and that's exciting. But I think the steps, like the steps in just releasing stuff is, focusing on what you want to keep, and does it bring you joy, or is it growing mold, kind of thing, and then you let it go with gratitude, whether you're throwing it away or giving it away. And you can take a picture of it if you want to remember it. And then I think, I read somewhere the question to ask yourself, the question, do we want our kids to have to go through it after we're gone?
Yeah.
But seriously, like, because I know that our kids would look at this stuff and be like, "Ugh, no." Well, it doesn't look like, it's not an exciting box of things, so much of it, like our workshops on, meditation and things, they'd be like, yeah, okay, I can get this on YouTube.
Yeah. What was striking me was that you were talking about your process, and we talked about this, about how everything you touch brings back that visceral, or that visual thing of what was happening, when that piece of paper was produced, when that corsage was pinned on, when, right?
Right.
And I was thinking, with some of the things I've seen, we've all seen the shows Hoarders and things like that, where people have all these things. But I've seen some of those where people will walk through, somebody will pick something up and say, and start to move it. And they'll be like, oh no, that is la, 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 la. They know exactly what all those things are. Whereas for me, I just see a whole bunch of crap.
Right.
They at least some of them are seeing all kinds of their life, or other people's lives, or whatever it is in each piece, and so it begs the question of, what does it mean, to release, and what should we release, and does it serve us more or less to release? And that all depends on different people, exactly what we're releasing. But I think it's a process to find for ourselves. Again, I go back to the idea of, for me anyway, it goes to the what is it that I'm believing about whatever this person or activity or thing is, that doesn't allow me to let it go. Do I believe it somehow magically does something? Do I believe that I would be something less or different? Do I just not know who I'd be, and therefore I'm afraid?
Well, what if it's not all that serious? What if it's a way of remembering them and keeping them alive in your mind? It's a symbol.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's, all that deep. I think we're talking about a couple, again, we said we're talking about several different forms of release.
Right.
And I think, stuff is one thing, because yes, a lot of times we hold on to stuff because it's a memory of a better time, or it's a memory of someone we love, or it's something we think we're going to do. I mean, I can't tell you how many crafts I have in the garage that I think I'm going to do, and I'm going to go to the crafts fair in December somewhere, and I'm going to yeah. My inner artist has a lot of plans. So, I mean, a lot of things are, you know, maybe an idea of who you want to become, or who you want to be in the future, or whatever. So, I mean, they're all like symbols. It's not that easy to just throw them away. But I think what's important, what I heard, what you said, and it comes to my mind that whatever process you're doing, that along with gratitude, I think forgiveness is a big part of the process as well. In that, not only in the forgiveness aspect, but in the giving forth. So if you're giving forth by releasing, that's one form of it, and really forgiving yourself. For example, I'll use us as an example. We have stuff in our garage that has been there for the last 10 years that we've lived here, because we've moved it here. And of those, from that 10 years worth of stuff, it was in a storage space before that, probably for another 10 years, more or less, in some way, shape, or form. So we've carried this stuff with us for 20 years, basically, or more. And so forgiving ourselves, because we're, after having a place where we could have it, and thinking, oh, we're going to look at it, we're going to go through it, we're going to create this, we're going to get rid of that. Now we're up against the wall going, what are we going to do? And so really being able to forgive ourselves as well for holding on to it, or whatever, however that looks.
Releasing ourselves from our own tyranny.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot, y'all. I feel like I was in a therapy session. But, yeah. So I want to just quickly, before we go, most of you probably already do this in some way, shape, or form, but here's a little just outline of how you can do some kind of release inventory on your life. And if you outline like the major areas in your life, or the things you want to focus on, whether it's love, relationships, career, money, health, spirituality, personal fulfillment, whatever it is, if you outline those, and you list for those areas whatever your pain points are, whatever comes up that you're constantly struggling with, or that you want to move through, or that you're aware, that you feel that pain in your neck when somebody talks about, the clothes you need to get rid of, or whatever. And then for each pain point, if you can just start to think about maybe the underlying belief around that, or what your story is around that. If it's love and relationships, is it about worthiness? Is it about, whatever, you guys get it. I think whatever you're feeling like is the underlying belief there. I'm unlovable because, or I'm not enough because, or I'll never have a relationship that makes me happy, whatever that is. And then for each underlying belief, if you can create an affirmation, or know the truth of that situation. And I'm not telling you to spiritual bypass it. I'm telling you, be with it, do what you need to do to really feel into it, but then really know the truth of what we believe, in that, God is a loving, nurturing space of infinite possibility. And so if you're believing that you're unlovable, know that you are lovable just the way that you are, and that You deserve a relationship that is fulfilling or meaningful or makes you happy. And then once you have all that you want to release, and that feel some kind of movement or living into it, even if you're just faking it until you make it, or putting it up on your wall and just being with it every day and working through it, the pain point will begin to shift. And you'll begin to acknowledge the things that aren't serving you. Yeah, until you really shift and grow into that new way of being.
Wow. Thank you. I think you said a lot of things I was trying to say.
Well,
In a nice, concise way that made sense. So thank you. I wanted to acknowledge John for two reasons. One, that he helped us immensely with some of our process of releasing things, let him go. And he actually took a whole bunch of stuff that we wanted to recycle or give or whatever, and help distribute it and get it where it needed to go. And the comment is, the children's books I've given out from your home brought much joy and connection with over 20 different people. So there's that idea of, when we can let go of whatever it is, sometimes that creates the space for someone else to have joy that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And I think that's pretty wonderful.
Yes. And we will be continuing to let go and release.
Yes.
If you're in the neighborhood, come by our front lawn and get a CD rack. So I want to just share this one quote with you that says, if we can just let go and trust that things will work out the way they're supposed to, without trying to control the outcome, then we can begin to enjoy the moment more fully. The joy of freedom it brings becomes more pleasurable than the experience itself. By Goldie Hawn.
All right.
So that's what I've got for you today. I want to say a special thanks to our stand-in producer, Dr. Robert Brzezinski. And
emphasis on the doctor, having just graduated this past week. So we congratulate him.
We congratulate him and many others. And I also want to tell you that, during our commercial, you saw the places that support us. And I'm really moved today to just say, if you're willing or able to support New Thought Media Network, we would love for you to do that. And what better than to see your name up on a little sign that goes by on our show? I'm telling you. So if you're moved to do that, just drop a little donation out, and it just helps us keep everything going, and it makes all of our presenters be able to do what they do in the way they do it through your generosity and through the vision and the generosity of Dr. Robert Brzezinski. So thank you, everybody. And you know what's yours to do this week. Wherever you are, even if you're with your stuff you want to get rid of, rock the love. And we'll see you next week.
Rock it.
The love.